Townstar added a bunch of new items and buildings to the game. They're essentially calling this their fishing updates, and it has to do with the next competition's meta, which is the sushi meta, or really it's called the salmon nigiri meta. So I'm going to talk about the next competition details, talk about these new buildings and items. I'm also going to talk about this team competition that's going on, and I'm also going to be giving my suggestions and thoughts over all this new stuff in the process. So starting off, I'm going to read from this announcement made in the Gala Games Discord in the Townstar announcements. This is from a few days ago, but it does have some important information here. So the next competition is going to begin on April 4th, 2023, 12 p.m. Central Time. That is my time. Make sure to check the Townstar announcements to check what time that is in your time, because this time is the same time that the competition started last competition, but not the same usual time that you're used to, if you know what I mean. So you really want to double check that time. Do yourself a favor and double check that time, okay? So this competition, the price structure is going to be Gala price to the top 1,000 people in the leaderboard. And moving forward, I'm going to go through this list right here with the new buildings and new items. So salmon nigiri, that's going to be the final product that's going to be boosted in stars and cash. So to craft that, you would need 1 white rice, 1 salmon, and 3 energy. Craft time in 30 seconds, made in the sushi restaurant, and stored in the storehouse. So I'm not going to go over all the build costs and craft times for all the new items. You can check that on the screen right now. You can check it on the Townstar announcements. You could also check the Townstar playbook that's been completely updated. Took me a good amount of work, so hopefully you appreciate all of that. So here we go. New buildings, wild net fishing and fishing platform. Both of these are going to be the way you craft salmon, and it's going to require fish chum and energy. Depending on which building you're using, the fishing platform actually requires more ingredients, but it crafts the salmon faster. Now the wild net fishing, the edge requirement is a waterway, so you would put it next to an ocean or river. And the fishing platform, the edge requirement is an open world, so you would put it, you know, where the edge, you don't have an ocean or river or mountain, the edge that's open, basically. Where your trade depot will go, that edge. So both of these work similar, but they obviously are different. They also have different building requirements and even different building costs. Now, which one is better really depends on what your situation is, because I see wild net fishing makes sense in the fact that you need less fish chum, and fish chum is dependent on seaweed, which you'll see in a moment, and seaweed is red timer unless you have passive salty that makes it a green timer. So you can kind of see, like, if you're not running an ocean, if you have trouble getting enough seaweed, you probably won't be able to make that much fish chum, so you might opt into making a wild net fishing for your salmon. Otherwise, if you have no problem with the seaweed, you should just go ahead and do the fishing platform, because that gets you salmon faster. But it's hard to say which setup is better right now. It's just, I see it as 2 different ways to do this in meta, which is great. So seafood warehouse, this is interesting. This is kind of going to get some people. Stores up to 20 items. It's actually doubled by the diamond warehouse NFT, which is really cool that they did that. So the build requirements here, your usual 10 lumber and 10 energy. It's actually a lot for storage, but you know. But you also need 5 ice blocks, and there's a lot of people out there right now that don't know how to make ice blocks, or they probably never made it. So in order to make your ice blocks, you can either make them in the Master Wizard or in the water facility now. However, the water facility takes 10 minutes to make an ice block, whereas the Master Wizard takes 30 seconds. Although, for this meta, you're probably better off just making them in the water facility because it's cheaper. However, you're going to need 2 water drums and 3 cold and the cold has to be passive. Now your 2 water drums, I suggest you just have 2 water pumps nearby, because as of recording this video, there's a bug in the game. The water facility is not picking up water drums. I'm pretty sure they'll fix that by the time the competition starts, but just pointing that out there. As for your cold, you need 3 passive cold, and right now the only way to get cold in the game is to have a wizard's tower building, which gives 1 passive cold, or a Santa's factory, which gives 2 passive gold. Now there are NFTs out there that give more passive gold than that, but that's NFTs that we're talking about. So if you have those NFTs, you already know how to make ice blocks, and if you don't, well, you're just gonna have to rely on the Wizard's Tower and Santa's Factory that are in the game. And those are expensive buildings, to be honest, so it's gonna take you a while to even collect the cash to build those buildings, just so you can have the passive gold to make ice blocks, just so you can make these seafood warehouses. And you're probably gonna need to make a couple. I mean, I would assume you'd probably need 2 or 3. It really depends. So you want to keep that in mind. You're gonna need ice blocks for this meta. Very important. Mixing tent. That's how you craft your white rice and your fish chum. And also note that some of these buildings are very expensive cash-wise, and they have high wages, so yeah, you want to keep that in mind. Sushi restaurant, that's where you craft your salmon nigiri, and that's basically it for sushi restaurant right now. It's pretty self-explanatory. New crops, seaweed farm, crafts your seaweed, that gets stored in the silo. So this one is positively affected by the salty effect, so it helps to have an ocean, or the NFTs to get positive salty. If you don't have an ocean, then the red timer is limited at 40 seconds. It's not as bad as it normally would have been. So yeah, you probably could do this meta without an ocean because of that. But, you know, having an ocean to help you get more seaweed is going to be helpful. And it's harvested by the seaweed farmer, which is a new unit that we're going to go over right now. Next crop is the rice field that crafts husk rice, which is required to craft white rice. The husk rice is stored in silo. Pretty fast craft time. It is slowed down by dirty and shady. And it requires 8 water, so it requires a lot of water, which is something you might want to keep in mind. It might be beneficial to have a river, maybe even 2 rivers. Otherwise, you're just going to need to make a couple ponds. This one is harvested by the regular farmer or farm tractor. New crafts, white rice, requires 2 rice husks, 1 energy, stored in a storehouse. Fish chum requires 2 shrimp, 1 seaweed, stored in the seafood warehouse. Ice blocks is now available in the water facility. That's 3 cold, 2 water drums. Takes 10 minutes though. But yeah, those ice blocks are stored in the storehouse. New workers, the fish farmer, it can harvest shrimp. The seaweed farmer can harvest seaweed. And the fisherman drops off the fish chum and energy and picks up the salmon from the wild net fishing and fishing platforms only. And all these, I'm sure, will do additional things once they add more stuff to Townstar, like different types of sushi crafts and fish or something like that. So these new units do come with their own buildings, which were not mentioned in this announcement, but they do come with their new buildings. You can check all that in the Townstar playbook. So you are going to need a couple of these, gathering these new materials, like gathering the seaweed, and yeah, new buildings that you'll need for the new meta. So moving on, there are other changes. So I'm in the Townstar playbook now. Yes, there are other changes with the research center and also some of the buildings. So first I want to say the only buildings that are going to cost stars in this meta are the ATV, tractor, and logger. Those cost 150,000 stars. The research center and the corrupted portal still cost 5 million stars, in addition to all their regular building costs, you know. So the corrupted portal has no changes as far as the cash to stars conversion is. It's the same as the previous Fancy Cake competition, which is, I believe it's 2.5 million cash converts to 350,000 stars every 5 minutes. But the thing that did get adjusted, of course, is the research center. It has its crafts and craft costs adjusted. So you'll be able to craft tractor speed. That was actually there on the previous meta as well. Tractor speed gives a 25% movement speed bonus for tractors. It costs 2.5 million cash, 100 seaweed, and 50 shrimp. All these researches seem much easier to do now that they've added the corrupted portal. So they made the researches easier. So yeah, it doesn't seem that hard to really do any of these except for maybe the global speed bonuses. But next one is the fisherman speed boost, a 25% movement speed bonus for fishermen. That's 2.5 million cash, 100 husk rice, and 50 white rice. Next is the everyone else speed. Clever. I mean, this is a strange thing that they named it, but basically the everyone else speed is a 25% movement speed bonus for all units except the tractors and the fishermen, because they already got theirs. But this one would probably be much better than these two. So this costs 5 million cash, 100 brine, very easy, and well, it's very easy if you have an ocean. If you don't have an ocean, I understand it's gonna take a while, right? So you want to keep that in mind. You really might want to get an ocean for this. And in addition to that, 50 salmon. So yeah, that might take some time. But this is a really good buff right here. 5 million cash. Definitely should get this. And of course, the best one of all is the global speed. That's still here. Only 15 million cash, much cheaper than it was before. 100 fish chum, but also 50 salmon nigiri. And you know, this is your end product. And the thing is, well, 50 is really not a whole lot. Yeah, you'll see if you're able to create your own build, you should be able to get at least 50 per hour by the looks of it, by what I've seen so far. So 50 probably isn't a whole lot. And this is the global speed, of course, gives you a 75% movement speed bonus for tractors and fishermen, and then a 50% movement speed bonus for all the other units. So as far as research goes, I highly recommend you go for it. As soon as you can. If it's the third day and you're still trying to get research done, it might not be worth it. You might just be better off saving yourself the trouble and spending that money on the corrupted portal. But if you can get it done within the first 2 days, I would say definitely go for the research bonuses. Okay, so now I'm in game in Townstar. I placed down one of each of the new buildings, and I'm just gonna explain again what they all do, what they all look like. So this is the aquaculturist house. This has a worker that goes and collects the shrimp from the shrimp farm and takes it to the seafood warehouse, and it casts only 1 shade. Just so you know, these wages are with the full ornament set. If you don't have the ornament set, then the regular wage would be 200. You're gonna have to do the math for each one of them, or just check the Townstar playbook. Moving on. Fisherman house, this one goes around and collects the fish chum and energy, takes it to the fishing platforms. Once the fishing platform catches a salmon, then the fisherman goes to the fishing platforms and collects the salmon and deposits it in the seafood warehouse. Also casts 1 shade. Next is the mixing tent. Mixing tent has 2 crafts. It can craft fish chum and it can craft white rice. It also casts 1 shade. Fish chum gets taken to the seafood warehouse. White rice gets taken to the storehouse. So seafood warehouse right here. This one stores your salmon, your shrimp, your fish chum. And also only 1 shade. So we have the fishing platform, requires an open world edge. Neither one of these require a road, just so you know. There just happens to be a road here. But fishing platform here requires open world edge. And it doesn't cast any proximity effects. Like, even though it like summons a pond outside of the map, that doesn't give you passive water, just so you know. No proximity effects off this. It's negatively impacted by dirty, so you don't want to have dirty next to it, which is the problem because it requires so much energy. But that's how they want to get you. So you're gonna have to find a way around that. You're probably gonna have to manually craft energy, so just keep that in mind. So fishing platform, crafts your salmon, 2 fish chum, 8 energy, 30 seconds. Then you got your wild net fishing. This one requires a waterway. That's a waterway requirement. So you'll need a river or an ocean. So this one only requires 1 fish chum and 4 energy, but it makes it much slower. The time here is with some random skins. I guess I forgot to take one off. Anyways, next is this seaweed farmer house. So this one has a worker and it goes and collects seaweed from the seaweed farm. That's essentially it. And it's 1 shade as well. So sushi restaurants. Now this one crafts your salmon nigiri. Right here, using 1 white rice, 1 salmon, 3 energy. This one's not affected by any proximity effects, so you probably do want a power plant or some way to give it passive energy. That way it just has to worry about collecting the white rice and the salmon, and it crafts it pretty quickly as well. This building also casts 2 shade. And yeah, your salmon nigiri, that's stored in a storehouse. Okay, so your seaweed farm, this just crafts your seaweed. It is red timer normally. When you have next to the salty, it boosts it up all the way to green timer, which is why you want to have an ocean edge, preferably. It's not negatively impacted by anything else. It's just positively impacted by salty. Now the shrimp farm requires 2 seaweed in order to craft the shrimp. And the seaweed has to be picked up by the aquaculturist from a silo, so it'll take it here. And once the shrimp has been crafted, the aquaculturist will pick up the shrimp and put it in the seafood warehouse. And finally, we have the rice fields. Rice fields require 8 water in order to grow a husk rice, which is picked up by a farmer or tractor, taken to a silo. And I believe that's all the new buildings explained. Hopefully that helped out. Moving on, I'm going to talk a bit about the teams. So I'm going to go back to that announcement. So what's with the teams? A lot of people are getting confused about this, and honestly, it's not a big deal, guys. So Townstar is going to make some kind of team competition where you can create a team of up to 20 people, minimum 5 people, but up to 20 people. You can register them, and basically whichever top 3 teams gets the most score, and that score is decided by adding up all the team member scores and just creating one big score. So the top 3 teams who get the highest scores will win an NFT cosmetic card for the top 10 people in their team. A lot of people are very confused about this. So once again, you can have 20 people in the team, but if your team wins, only the top 10 get the NFT. So very important, you want to keep that in mind. But you're still going to want 20 people on your team in order to actually win this. So they did release some concepts of what the new art would look like. They do have a more updated concept. 1 second. So here it is. So OneOutGen showed this recently. This is what the card would look like for first place winners. This is the card for the second place winners, and this is the card for the third place winners. So they're going to mint 10 of each of these and just give it to the top 10 people in the top 3 teams. So they do have some rules, of course, your obvious rules. Don't cheat, don't share NFTs, you know, that deal. So how exactly do you make a team? Well, you just get with a guild or with just a group of people and get your ID from the D3 gaming website. That's the easiest way to do it. Or you can also get their email, but I think that's the more personal and not really required. So yeah, just search up their recent town name on the D3 gaming website, and you'll be able to see what their previous ranking was, what their rankings were during the previous competitions, and you'll be able to get their ID, which is what you need. You'll be able to sign them up using this form right here. And there we go. This is what the form looks like. So team competition sign up. It's gonna ask what your team's 3-letter tag is, so you do have to come up with a 3-letter tag for the team. If your team places top 3, do you want the initials on the actual cosmetic NFT? So basically it's asking, do you want this? If not, then it'll just look like this without the initials. The person submitting this form will put yes or no, and then they'd have to put it in the user ID or email address of all the team members. They got to put at least 5, and they can put a maximum of 20, which if you want to win this, you would want to put all 20. You would want to put your 20 most competitive players that you know are going to get the most points. Yeah, because this is by points. They're just going to add up all the points to do this team competition thing. So do you have to do this? No, you really don't have to do this. If you want to do it, go ahead. I mean, I guess it's fun, right? It's gonna be mostly fun for the top couple of strongest competitive teams. So there's gonna be a lot of guilds out there making 2nd and 3rd teams, mine included, which is completely fine, but don't expect these 2nd or 3rd teams to win. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. It's just all part of the fun, you know what I mean? And I guess this is just their first version of these team competitions. I'm sure they'll improve them over time. They'll expand the rewards and more people can get involved. Besides that, these rewards probably are going to be pretty worthless. I mean, they're going to be worth something, but don't expect them to be worth a whole lot. It's just a cosmetic card with no utility. It just looks cool. Somebody's just gonna look at the leaderboards and be like, oh, that player has a cool looking card. I wonder how they got that. They must be special. And then like 5 seconds later, they're not gonna care. But yeah, don't worry too much about this competition. Either way, that being said, I started a guild because not necessarily just for this competition, but it seems like they do want to introduce a more social aspect to Townstar, and I'm hoping we'll be able to see that in the future, maybe with the ability to help each other out, give each other buffs or free items in the game. But really just for this competition, not much going on in this competition, but I did start a guild. I am setting up some teams, which I'll have an official list out Saturday night. So if you are interested in joining my guild, it is DUB Dub for Townstar. It's going to be an abbreviation for Den of United Builders. Feel free to join our Discord. You can find the invite link in the description of this video. You can let me know if you want to join the guild. I'm just gonna need to know what you named your town on the recent competition. That's really the only requirement as well. You need to have participated in at least one competition in order to officially join the guild. It doesn't really matter what rank you got. But if you joined the guild, I'll try to put you on a team if you joined on time before I had the teams officially made. At most, probably 3 teams. I really don't see the point of doing more than 2 teams really, but at most 3 teams if everybody agrees, if everybody wants to be on those teams. Our first main team is going to have the top 20 most competitive players, so there's that. Really, that's all I have to say about these team competitions. I don't think I'm missing anything. Don't worry about it too much, and hopefully you're not confused about it, because it really seems like there's a lot of people confused about it. But really, before I end this off, some more suggestions and thoughts for this next competition. I am gonna try to work on a no NFT build. However, 1 second. So Mao from Gala Games Discord did share a build, so I'm gonna show it off because I don't know if it's awesome or bad. It looks really good to me. So this is his take on the salmon nigiri meta. No NFTs. You can see that there's a lot of nuclear power plants here giving passive energy to all the fishing platforms, and it's not even full passive energy. I'm pretty sure he still has to craft energy, which is easy when you have nukes. So he was getting a rate of somewhere around 200 salmon nigiri per hour. I don't know if that's a good rate or not. It sounds really good, being honest here. I haven't tried a build out as of recording this video. So here you have a possible setup to do a build. I don't even know if I could top this, to be honest, but here's the one problem with this build if you're going to try to do it. There's a lot of nukes in here. This is a very expensive build, high wage costs and high build costs. It's going to be easily minimum 110 million cash just to build this. Easily minimum 120 million, I would say. Nuclear power plants do not cost stars, just your 10 million cash. So yeah, it's a good option right here. Just wanted to show it. Shout out to Mao, because he also likes to shout me out during the Town Star AMAs. I appreciate that though. But yeah, here's your option. I'm going to try to make a no NFT build. It probably won't be as advanced as this, especially considering since we only have the weekend. So I can't guarantee that I'll make a no NFT build. I just say I'm gonna try. I don't want people to come after me because I didn't make one. I never promised that I would always have a build out, but I'm gonna try. Even if I get it out on Tuesday, I'll get it out on Tuesday. So there's that. The other suggestion I want to point out is I recommend a desert for the oil seep. Obviously, you can have your power plants next to it and craft energy that way. I would say you probably should consider getting an ocean edge so you can make your seaweed faster. Or at the very least, get a river or two for your rice. Well, probably maybe only one river will be fine. Considering you're trying to get a desert, it's going to be really hard to get a desert and a river. Very possible, but it's hard. So at the very least, if you don't think you'll get that during the competition, you should just practice in a plain old desert like this. So really, that's all the suggestions and thoughts that I have, all the information I can give out so far. This video is going to be pretty long, but I tried to explain all this new meta stuff as fast as I could, as organized as I could. I did update the Townstar playbook completely, so you definitely should check that out. It took a good amount of hours. I would appreciate it if you could like this video. Consider joining our Patreon or YouTube membership. It really helps me out. I don't really want to announce that on every single video, but on this video specifically, you should definitely check it out if you're interested. And feel free to leave a comment what you think about this new meta. Are you scared? You think it's gonna be fun? Let me know. So that's everything. Appreciate your support. Thank you for watching.